welcome to another episode of Gadgets and Gizmos. My name is Gaurav Preti and this episode is power-packed. I've seen it 3 times already, and before we go ahead, time for a superhero joke. What does Batgirl wear to bed? Her Dark Knight suit! As a kid, Pluto I thought was the name of Mickey Mouse's dog, which is correct. But then this dude told me that is the 9th planet of our solar system and it is the place where volcanoes erupt every time Sabu gets angry. And clearly that fella never read the Chacha Chaudhary comics, because that's Jupiter. But we will know everything about Pluto thanks to New Horizons spacecraft which just flew by it. And Pluto, you're not lonely anymore. We will get to know you better. Pluto, the 9th planet of our galaxy, lies close to the unexplored Kepler belt. Little was known about this distant planet until now. In 2006, NASA sent the spacecraft New Horizons into space on its biggest rocket to take a closer look at the small planet Pluto. It all began in the year 1930 when Clyde Tombaugh, a 24-year-old from Kansas, discovered a moving point of light, Pluto. It was in the year 1989 when things really started off for the mission Pluto. 3 young grad students, Alan, Mark and Fran, really thought this was the new frontier to discover. After years of design changes and delays and even near cancellation, it was on November 29, 2001 that NASA finally approved the mission. All the designs on paper finally began to take shape. The spacecraft had to be light and at the same time would have to carry the latest of scientific instruments for observation and analysis. There was LORRI, which would be used for navigation approaching Pluto and close-up view during flyby. Wide-angle camera called Ralph had both visible light and infrared sensor to map Pluto and characterize their icy surface. There are also 2 field and particle detectors to probe solar winds on Pluto. For communication, there was REX, an advanced radio antenna. And there was Venetia Burney's student dust counter, built by graduate students at UC Boulder honoring the schoolgirl who named Pluto. Together, this is the most powerful set of scientific instruments ever sent into space. These instruments comprise of the most powerful set of detectors, but their innovative and miniaturized design means even when all are operating, they draw less power than half a 60-watt bulb. And they are intended to work together and seamlessly. After months of development and testing to ensure everything goes right, the New Horizons spacecraft was ready, and for launch it needed the world's most powerful rocket, the Atlas V. On Jan 19, 2006, after 17 years of planning and testing, it was a picture-perfect launch. New Horizons made it into space. Its velocity at launch was the fastest ever. It was 60 times faster than a jetliner. The spacecraft passed the orbit of Moon in just 9 hours. Apollo took nearly 10 times that long. 1 year later, a slingshot from the gravity of Jupiter provided another 2 km per second boost, cutting travel time to Pluto by 3 years. After traveling through the empty space, it was on December 2014 that the spacecraft woke up. On Jan 2015, approach science begins. And finally, after covering 3 billion miles of journey to Pluto, on July 14, 2015, Pluto close approach and flyby time was here. New Horizons has called home and it looks in great shape. In coming days, it will send data and images and we will know what was unknown for all these years. Michael Jackson once said, "It don't matter to me, baby, if you're black or white." So in this week's episode, we've got the Xolo Black and we've got the Canvas Knight 2, which is a white in color. They look gorgeous and let's find out how do they perform. Honey Singh also said that Koreani tere brown rang ne. Just take a look at our review. In the house today are two new offerings from Xolo and Micromax, and we decided to hand them over to our in-house nerds, Sahil and Gaurav, for a day. For the Trek use often referred to as bones, we choose the Xolo Black. And for the #1 subscriber of Miracle Hair Oils, we choose the Micromax Knight 2.
The moment you get your hands on the Xolo Black, it will surprise you in a pleasant way. It feels like a really expensive phone. It's got this glass back, it has this metal frame. Feels like a very expensive phone. In fact, so much so that it'll remind you of Sony's Xperia phones because it uses a design language that's almost identical to Sony's Xperia smartphones. Even on the display, you get a 5.5-inch IPS display. It's got a full HD 1080p resolution. It's quite a nice display. It's got nice viewing angles. But the big problem out here is the display feels a little washed out. Overall, it's a very nice package though.
And just like my hairstyle, this phone also looks awesome. I'm talking about the Micromax Knight 2, and this phone looks gorgeous. Micromax as a brand has come a long way, and they have their own design language which shows here. Now this is a design which everyone is adopting these days, but they've tried to give it a different feel. This metal on the side is protruding out, but it's holding the body quite firmly. And the display is the highlight. It's shining because you have a 720p Super AMOLED display, and it's really bright. The colors are looking nice, and nice contrast you get over here. So in the looks department, I think the Micromax Knight 2 deserves an applause.
So the Xolo Black has a 13 megapixel camera on its back. It also has a 2 megapixel camera, which makes it one of the first phones in the market to offer you a dual camera setup. In fact, under 15,000 rupees, this is the only phone in India to offer you two cameras on the back. The front, it also has a 5 megapixel camera, but another unique thing out here is that it has this flash module, which again is a unique thing for a sub 15,000 rupee phone. Only the Micromax Canvas Selfie right now offers you a front flash. Overall, the image quality of the rear camera is pretty good, especially in daylight like this. Close-up photos are nice and detailed, and the 13 megapixel resolution really helps with the details. In low light, obviously there's quite a bit of noise, but the photos are quite usable. For selfie lovers, the front-facing camera is actually pretty good, especially in low light situations considering the flash.
Well, talking about the camera, at the back you have a 13 megapixel camera along with LED flash. Now the pictures come out really well under bright sunlight, where you get good colors, good details, but then it has a tendency to overexpose those pictures, but overall they look good. Low light photography is something that is a little disappointing, but then that is why they've given you an LED flash. Talk about the front facing camera, you have a 5MP camera which does a decent job.
The Xolo Black is powered by an octa-core processor which supports 64-bit applications and also 4G networks in India. It also has 16 GB of internal memory, 2 GB RAM, and also a micro SD card slot in the case you want to expand the memory of the phone. In daily usage, this phone is pretty smooth. It multitasks really quickly and switches apps also at a very rapid clip. Overall, it's a very nice phone to use.
Alright, let's talk about the performance now. Powering this phone is an octa-core processor, and you have 2 GB of RAM. The combination does a good job, and all your daily operation would be dealt with quite nicely. So surf web, open apps, play games, and you won't be disappointed. Now, talking about game, we were playing Asphalt 8, and after some time we did observe some frame drop, and because of the Uniboy design and especially the Snapdragon 615 processor, minor heating issues would also crop up, but then they're not that big a deal. It won't deter your phone's performance as a whole. So overall, I'm satisfied, and yes, it's running on Android Lollipop. It's pretty much a stock Android UI, and it's pretty much bloatware free as well. So it's neat, it's clean, and it's smooth, and it works.
Oh, by the way, this phone is actually pretty good for gaming. You can play graphically intensive games without many issues. The frame rates don't drop a lot, and more importantly, this phone really doesn't get warm. Recently we reviewed the Xiaomi Mi 4i, which runs the exact same processor and the same amount of RAM, and that got really warm. This one stays relatively cool. In fact, we would say this phone remains cool as a cucumber. I've been using this phone for one full day and I've managed to extract around 12 to 14 hours of usage. That also on Airtel's new 4G network. This phone has a 3200 mAh battery, which is frankly quite impressive. In fact, overall, the story of this phone is that it's quite nice. It has really impressed me.
I would beg to differ, Sahil. I also have been using this phone for a whole day, and I think Micromax Knight 2, this is the phone you should go for. Look at the design, it looks so beautiful. This is a design that is internationally accepted, and it has worked for Micromax and all other brands that have used it, but they use it differently. The display is bright, 720p, and the Android experience on this is great. It's bloatware free, it's almost stock Android, and it's really nice. Snapdragon 615 with Android Lollipop over here. I think they've done a good job, and I also have used this phone for a whole day, minus 4G though, because I have Vodafone, but I think, yeah, it has done the job, and I also extracted almost 12 hours from it. It's still working.
You know what? What's the good thing about this phone? It has got a 5.5-inch 1080p screen, so it's higher resolution and it's also bigger. And as we all know, bigger is better. It has two cameras on its back. That one has just one. And this one is running a very custom build of Android that Xolo calls Hive UI. And this is a really unique take on Android, and almost every phone in the market is running stock Android. So if you want something unique, this is the one you should be going for.
Bigger is not always better. I think on 5-inch, 720p has proved that with AMOLED display, it looks just fantastic. And I don't need two cameras because the camera over here, single 13MP camera, it does the job well. f2.2 aperture, well, low light photography is nice. Front camera, 5 megapixel. Selfies, I've been looking good in these selfies, man. I'm happy.
You know what, Gaurav? Let's agree to disagree on this one. You know what? This still wins because this is 3,000 rupees cheaper.
Good things come at a price, 16,000 rupees. Just 3,000 rupees more, that's it.
On my business card, I am a corporate president. In my mind, I am a game developer. But in my heart, I am a gamer.
Nintendo's contribution to gaming are immeasurable. Be it Mario's unmistakable appeal or Balloon Fight's zany arcadey action. The man who helped shape Nintendo for the last 13 years was Satoru Iwata, taking over the company at a time when its future looked uncertain.
Oh! Hello!
Hello.
Hey, look, I'm really sorry about kidnapping you 80 plus times, but my bad. So is it cool if I have the last donut?
Taking over from Hiroshi Yamauchi as only the fourth president in the company's history, and the first one who was unrelated to the Yamauchi family, who operated Nintendo since its inception in 1889. Wata-san's rise to prominence began at HAL Laboratories, where he worked on several classics such as Earthbound, Super Smash Bros. And Pokémon. He joined Nintendo in 2000 before ascending to presidency in 2002, taking over at a time of financial turmoil following the disappointing sales of the Nintendo GameCube. He steered the company to pursue the handheld market by introducing the Nintendo DS and followed it up with the innovative motion-controlled Wii home console. Both consoles were outright successes, steering Nintendo towards being financially successful once again. The famed blue ocean thinking he devised broadened the video game demographic, appealing to new audiences, bringing in both casual and hardcore gaming segments over to Nintendo during the Wii's peak. Wii U's failure to gain traction saw a very successful period for Nintendo, and it was something he took a lot of flack for. Under his reign, barring the Wii U, Nintendo saw the most profitable period in the company's storied history. Before he passed, he was working on the new Nintendo NX console prototype and a major deal with DNA to use Nintendo characters in original games for mobile. Iwata's legacy lives on in the games that he helped create, special memories etched in many a gamer's mind. He lives on as the face of Nintendo for over a decade, and as a gamer in our hearts.
I wonder what's next.
He was a true gamer at heart, and his biggest legacy might be bringing all those fascinating games to all of us. After a pause, it's time to resume.
Over the course of his career as a game developer, Satoru Iwata has had a hand in creating some timeless classics. Here are 5 games that owe their existence to Iwata-san. One of the earliest titles that Iwata worked on was Balloon Fight. The game's premise was simple enough. You fly around the screen with a helium balloon attached to your back while knocking out enemies that try to do the same to you. There's also a balloon trip mode which throws new obstacles at you in an infinite round of collecting as many balloons as you can. When Iwata offered to help out on one of the most revered RPGs of its era, the game was in dire straits. Pushed back by countless delays, the project was almost cancelled. Needless to say, Iwata weaved some of his programming magic and helped keep the game afloat, making it a cult Super Nintendo classic. Cartridges of the game are sold even today at astronomically high asking rates. Another tale of Iwata's programming feats was Pokémon Stadium for the Nintendo 64. It took exactly 1 week to bring over a 2D battle system from older Pokémon games to a 3D space. The rest, as they say, is history. When you're head of a planning division for a big corporate like Nintendo, it's needless to say you give up some of the grunt work to focus on charting a path for the future. Not Iwata. He got back in the trenches when it was clear Smash Bros. Melee was going to miss its deadline and helped push the game out in time. Iwata also had a hand in creating the fan-favorite Kirby character, a pink ball with the ability to temporarily absorb attributes from other characters by literally inhaling them. The fluffy pink ball has made an appearance in countless games, remaining a fan favorite.
Time to take a look at what's making news in the world of technology. But before that, a superhero joke. What does Spider-Man tell people when they ask him what does he do for his living? Well, he says that he is a web designer.
Xiaomi has announced 2 new products in its portfolio. Xiaomi Mi TV2S is a premium 48-inch 4K television that measures only 9.9 mm at its thinnest. The UHD display is from Samsung and the TV is powered by a 1.4 GHz quad-core M-Star 6A928 chip. The television display can render 4K at 60 frames per second and it supports H.265 10-bit hardware decoding as well. The television comes with a subwoofer and soundbar and incorporates the latest Dolby sound technology for an impressive sound experience. The Mi Water Purifier, on the other hand, uses reverse osmosis technology and employs 4-step auto filtration. The biggest advantage of this purifier is its higher water flow rate, thanks to a 400-gallon high-flow RO filter and an optimized water purification path. The Mi Water Purifier can purify up to 76 barrels of water per day. In the other news, Foxconn may soon begin manufacturing phones for Microsoft in India. This as per reports in Business Insider. After Xiaomi and Infocus, the Taiwanese contract manufacturer Foxconn may soon start rolling out smartphones for Microsoft. If the deal sees light of the day, Foxconn will start manufacturing smartphones locally for Microsoft in the Sri city of Andhra Pradesh. Xolo has signed up with Intex as its first Sailfish OS licensee. Intex showcased Sailfish-based phones at the Mobile World Congress in Shanghai based on the Sailfish reference platform. The hardware specification of the production models are yet to be finalized, but Intex has confirmed that they will be powered by Qualcomm Snapdragon processors. The phone is expected to be priced around 11,000 rupees. Intest Technology has also announced its foray into the wearable segment with the launch of a smartwatch under the name iWrist, which is exclusively available at eBay. The Iris comes with an inbuilt 3G SIM support and enables the user to make receive calls through Iris independently without carrying their smartphone. Complementing this, the Iris also has an app, iConnect, that syncs with your smartphone, giving you info on missed calls, unread messages, and call logs of the phone. Packed with 1.2 GHz dual-core processor, the Iris runs on Android OS KitKat 4.4.2 and has an inbuilt Play Store app. There's also a 5MP camera and a 600 mAh battery as well.
Alright, so the show comes to an end. We hope you enjoyed watching it. If you want to know more about technology, what all is making news, what are the new things that are coming up, always visit our website indiatoday.in and go to the tech section, because if you know nothing about technology, you have to watch Gadgets and Gizmos.